Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the JUZEAR Clear. This is the third IEM given to us by JUZEAR, and I've been getting all of my JUZEAR stuff from Global 01 store. And besides the Global 01 store, I believe that HIFIGO also carries one of the models, the 41T, and Angel Ears also carries another model, which is the Flame, which is basically a 41T. But anyway, all of the models that I have had so far, I have gotten them from Global 01 store, which I understand was the first store to actually carry them outside of Taobao, which is the Chinese only kind of, let's say, big retailer place where you can get a lot of gear. Anyway, with regards to the Clear, simple box, kind of what we are used to getting from JUZEAR. Simple, very understated, nothing too drastic. Remove the sleeve. Underneath the sleeve, the box then just opens up very simply. And what we get inside, very simple, nothing crazy. IEMs over there, carrying case, some tips. It's as simple and as straight to the point as can possibly be. The accessories are of very good quality, especially the cable. Let me just put this away. Be it already previous models or be it now the Clear. I mean, this is the stock cable, and honestly, there's absolutely nothing to complain about it. This is a nice cable. When you consider this is an IEM for $50, you know, you'll be hard pressed to find better than this. Okay, so it's a nice all copper cable, nice terminations in terms of the accessories. Okay, the IEM itself is a resin 3D printed affair, very nicely done. I mean, seriously nicely done. I've peeked inside of the actual shell because it's transparent to see how they've implemented the driver, and again, very smart implementation. You can see that there was effort, there was knowledge, there was know-how put into this. It wasn't just get some parts, throw them inside of a shell and hope for the best. No, this was properly done. Okay, and this is the testament to that. It is properly put together. It uses a 10mm LCP driver. And what more can I say? It fits perfectly in my ears. I have absolutely no complaints. Isolates well. I'm using actually some Penon tips on it. They just work very well for me, and they work very well with this particular earphone, so that's why I use it. Either that or then I use the KB Euro 7s, as you guys know. And that's it. I mean, built is perfect. Nice weight, not fatiguing, fits flawlessly in my ears, isolates perfectly. The tips and the whole design of the shell and the length of the nozzle allow for a nice deep insertion. So I could not be happier, honestly. In this aspect, I could not be happier. Not a nightmare to fit in like some other IEMs, unfortunately. But anyway, that's the Clear. I just wanted to mention that the Clear is a continuation of two other IEMs that have been launched before it, which don't represent the whole scope of what JUZEAR makes, but this is what has been made available to us so far. The first one of them being the TBS01, which was a hybrid, a 1+4 hybrid with an SPD driver, a square planar driver. Also already brought a nice cable, as you can see. And then the other one that was also from them, and that I personally think is one of the nicest IEMs out there currently in terms of a hybrid setup, is the 41T. Okay, the 10mm dynamic with some Sonian BAs, beautiful all resin shell, very kind of the same style of quality as you get on a Moondrop S8, that kind of vibe. You have this version, and then you have the version which is done by Angel Ears, which is basically the same thing, just with a darkish smoked shell and a kind of a reddish faceplate design, but the earphone is exactly the same. And this one brought as well the limpet cable, which is this cable here, which is a cable that is so good that actually is available separately, and I've been using this cable extensively. I've bought really quite a few of these cables because they not only measure well, they measure really well within those values that I at least understand to be the ones that I want. But it just works well. It's a nice cable. I mean, for $30, it's one of those things that you just can't go wrong. All right. Anyway, As for the clear, it's available, as I said, for around $50. For about $80 you can get it with the other cable. So basically you're buying this, you're getting two cables. You're getting this cable, and then you're getting the limpid cable, which is the name of the other one. What do I have here for the clear to be compared to talking now about sound? And before we go any further, let me just say this. If what you're looking for is an uncolored, audiophile correct, you know, kind of let's say Moondrop Shoe, the original one vibe, or 7 Hertz 0 kind of vibe, this is not it. Okay, no, this is an unapologetic IEM with regards to its sound, in the sense that it's got bass, loads of it, but it's good quality bass, and it doesn't shy away from that, and it does it well. Okay, that's the truth. What it does very well, and you know, that's what I always say. I don't care if an IEM is colored, I don't care if it's got too much bass, I don't care if it's on audiophile correct. What I do care is it fun, you know, does it sound decent, does it sound good, does it sound engaging, okay, and was the design premise of that fun met? So if it's a bassy IEM, is it a good quality bass or just boom? You know, if it's a detailed IEM, is it good quality detail, or is it trying to murder your ears? And with regards to the clear, I think they were able to hit the nail right on the head. Why? Because it's got loads of bass. I mean, we're talking 14, 15 dBs of bass boost. Okay, so it's a seriously bassy IEM. But that bass is of quality, and you can see it's a quality bass because the driver that they used is a quality driver. And if it wasn't a quality driver, the bass wouldn't sound like this, because you've had plenty of other IEMs that have this sort of inflated bass, but because the drivers are of poor quality, it just sounds like a boom fest, and that's not what happened here. Okay, what they've done here is they've taken a good driver, a driver that's capable of good massive quantities of bass, but give us bass which has got clarity, which has got you know, weight, texture, that's just not trying to smother and muddy and muddy everything out besides the bass. So that's what we have here. I've gotten 3 other IEMs which also follow that. So these are IEMs which go against the Harman style of tune, or the ultra neutral, the warm kind of tuning. No, these are IEMs which are all very, very bassy, okay, namely the Sound Rhyme SR1, okay. Then the KBE Rosefinch, which, well, I've got a stock one over there, and this one is one using a 450 grade filter. It can be a 450 grade filter on the nozzle, can be a 400 grade filter on the nozzle, can even be a 350. What that will do is just basically make the upper, you know, the post pinna gain area, so the past 1K area, have different levels of energy. This particular one's got a 450. I've had it with a 350 before, but I think the 450 Pro, me personally, is the one that I like the best. So I've got here the Sound Rhyme, I've got the KBE modified and not modified, obviously the clear, and then the legato. Why? Well, like I said, all of these IEMs are very bassy IEMs. A very big emphasis has been placed on that bass. So things like technicalities are second in the importance of what these IEMs are supposed to be giving us. They are supposed to be bassy first and foremost. Okay. Second, fun. Those are the 2, I think, main things that any one of these IEMs here is trying to do. Now, the way that then the mids is done, is it more recessed, less recessed? Because obviously we're going to be talking about V-shaped signatures here. The way that then mids, upper mids and treble is done is what ultimately then dictates them being, you know, bassy and darker, or bassy and clearer. If this is a decent or half decent way of me trying to explain what I'm about to try and explain. Okay, I'm going to start with the KBE Rosefinch, because the Rosefinch, you know, when I initially heard it, I just couldn't understand it, because the moment I heard it, I could hear a very good quality bass, but I just couldn't understand how KB here hadn't been paying attention to that balance and they could have had an absolute killer here. Honestly, they could have had an IEM that could have really done some damage. And you can pick up this now for like $14-15. Initially it was closer to 30. It's got decently built shell. It's got an amazing driver. The driver is a very good driver, but it's just that tuning of the mids, upper mids and treble that was just a mess. So in the stock format it was just too much. It was way too dark, and it just muffled everything, and it was just a tiring IEM to listen to. It had loads of bass, but it was just tiring because there was no detail. Okay, so what did yours truly here do? Yours truly started playing around with it and came up with this solution of putting the 450 filter. And the 450 filter just gives it that little extra boost in that mids, upper mids and treble to just open up completely the sound. And with that filter, be it the 450 or 400, you know, whatever rocks your boat, it is amazing how good the Rose Finch is. You know, you can now actually hear voices, you can hear instruments better. Yes, it still is no detail master. Neither in none of these are detail masters. They've got pretty decent. Any one of these more some less the others, but any one of these IEMs has got, you know, decent technicalities when you consider their design premise. So sound stage is okay. It's a little bit closed in. It's more like a closed venue kind of situation, not a big open space. Imaging is again half decent. Detail retrieval is again acceptable if, you know, when you consider what their idea was. And timbre and tonality again okay, colored but okay. So none of these IEMs are technical monsters, but the reality is this: in stock format, the Rose Finch was one of the less favorable ones, while with this small mod it becomes an absolute beast of an IEM. Okay, so much so that when I did my review of the Legato, I even said, and I said it openly and I'll repeat it again, that this would very easily trade blows with the Legato, very easily. Okay, so modified, the Rose Finch is a very capable IEM. Okay, very capable. The sound rhyme, the SR1, very much like the stock Rose Finch, but what it saves it is the fact that it's got an earlier pinna gain with more boost. So that area there of just past 1.5-2 Ks is a little bit more boosted than what it's here. Here the rise is very progressive, be it here or there. It's very progressive, peaking at close to 4K, and while here it's more abrupt and then it falls off, and that it just gives it enough energy in the mids to make it sound just a little bit more open than the stock Rose Finch, but not as good in my opinion as the modified Rose Finch. The modified Rose Finch, for me personally, with my music, sounds better than the SR1. Okay, now the SR1 is a capable IEM if what you want is a bassy IEM, very capable. Okay, Legato, there's been so much shit about the Legato. It's also the only one here that's actually a dual DD. Okay, and as a dual DD, in my opinion, it could have been just a little bit better. I mean, I'm not detracting anything from the effort that was made by 7Hertz. They did a fantastic job. They did but I think that, you know, if the DD handling the mids and the highs was just a little bit more alive, it would have completely changed the Legato in terms of how it was received ultimately by people. Because how can I put this? Yes, fantastic bass. The bass is really kind of old school. That big 12mm driver really showing its cubic inches. Let's put it that way. Very capable in the low frequencies. But then the mids and the highs, and if you have a separate driver to do that, are not keeping up. So what you end up having is an IEM that is going to be very source dependent. If you have a slightly more warmer source, it's going to make it worse. If you have an open source, something which is got a bit more of a clearer sound, then that will kind of be its saving grace. But it's an IEM that could have been technically very capable, and it ends up being just acceptable, and then when you consider and put on top of it, it's a dual DD, you kind of like question, why didn't they just at least try it with a little bit more energy? Just at least try it. Okay, and then finally, obviously, the clear. Okay, in terms of bass, they are all bassy. They're all very good in the bass. which are the ones that I feel stand out the most, or ultimately are the better ones in terms of the bass, because of the quality, because of the texture, because of the speed. For me, the clear and the rose finch. Okay, the drivers used here with regards to the bass are doing their job phenomenally. Nothing to be said. The driver here is capable on the SR1, but it's a little, you can feel that it's a little bit of a slower drive. It's not, especially when you start putting up the volume, it kind of loses its composure. Okay, the driver on the legato, being a 12mm driver, yes, it has that advantage, but that advantage quickly dissipates itself when you really start cranking it up. You notice that it rises and it increases its output up to a certain level, and then it just stagnates, which makes me believe that, okay, although the driver chosen is a good quality driver, it is not an amazing driver, in the sense that it's not more capable than the drivers used either in the clear or on the rose finch. Okay, that's just the way I feel. So in terms of the bass and how the bass is done, definitely the clear and the rose finch are the best ones. The bass is got, it's got gut, it's got weight, but it's clean, it's dynamic, it's got a nice slam to it. You listen to something like, for example, and this is a song that I like to listen quite often to just see where that rumble can go to. You listen to David Chesky's Graffiti Jazz number 2 or Graffiti Jazz number 5. Sorry, number 6. Yes, all of them will give you that low bass rumble, that like really but these two, they just a little extra, you have to listen to it. Honestly, it's difficult for me to actually try and explain, but phenomenal. You listen to another song which I like listening, and you guys that follow me know, which is From Dusk to Dawn by George Duke. That slam, yes, the legato does it amazingly well. You can, it really hits you in the gut. The SR1 does it good, but not as well as the legato. The rose finch and the clear, unbelievable. That slam, it's like start stop, which is a testament to the quality of the magnetic system used in the driver. It's like bam, it hits you hard, clean, nothing. It's just perfect, like really well done. In the mids, that's where you start then seeing the differences arising. Definitely this and that in the stock format, the rose finch and stock format, are the ones that are going to be the darker. The SR1 edging out slightly the stock rose finch, but not being able to keep up with the modified one. So I'm actually, just for the sake of this, going to continue talking about the modified rose finch. Okay, mids, the modified rose finch does it very well, correct in its tonality, correct in its timbre. Male vocals a little bit recessed, fine, but female vocals are fine. Well, I wouldn't really say the male vocals are recessed. I would just say that the male vocals are overly warm, okay, in a nice way, but overly warm, overly thick, and that kind of gives them a little bit of an unnecessary husk. It's not displeasing, but an unnecessary husk. The female vocals, they sound fine, just slightly huskier than what they should sometimes, but otherwise it's fine. The legato, kind of the same situation as you get here, but just at the lower output level, so it just slightly loses out to the rose finch modified because of that lesser energy that it can put into the mids with regards to male and female vocals. The clear is of all of them, it's the outright winner. It's just got that right amount of extra energy needed to make vocals just shine and come out in a more balanced and more coherent manner. Okay, highs, none of them have got crazy highs, none of them have got crazy extension, but unquestionably the one that has the most extension is the clear, without a doubt. It's the one that's got the most sparkles up top. There's no, things like sibilance and so on, that doesn't even happen, because even if there were any peaks at 5K, the amount of bass that you have completely smothers those peaks or those possible sibilance points, let's put it that way. But without doubt, the clear is the one that has the most amount of treble energy and a good quality treble. If that, you know, on top of that, it's a nice treble that just, you know, is able to keep up for the most part with that, you know, all that bass energy that we have. You know, technically, like I said earlier, yes, detailed retrieval and soundstage are probably the two aspects that are most affected by the way that these IEMs are tuned, and the Clear is no exception to that. However, having said that, in terms of detailed retrieval, it is the best one. Okay, it edges out the Rosefinch and the Legato. In terms of soundstage, about the same. Imaging, again, it edges out the Legato and the Rosefinch. And in terms of detail retrieval, again, the same situation. Timbre and tonality, like I said, you know, don't forget, this is not a Harman tune, this is not a diffused, nothing. This is about being fun. So, is the timbre and the tonality correct for a fun IEM that has been tuned in a colored manner? Yes, it is fantastic. I mean, honestly, this will do very well with hip hop. Will do very well with rap. Will do very well with even with a certain amount of rock. It will do well, actually. You know, this is not an IEM that you're going to be using. Well, any one of these. These are not IEMs that you're going to be using for monitoring, or not an IEM that you would use to, you know, pick up and pick out all the last little bit of detail in a song and female vocal. No. This is for you to just shove in your ears and enjoy, have fun, you know, listen and say, wow, this thing can really slam. That's what this is about. So that's it, guys. I mean, for the $50 that it costs, I mean, we're talking, obviously, okay, the Rosefinch is now, you can get it for like $15. This is about the same $50. That's about $100, although you can sometimes get it slightly cheaper. So there's a big disparity of prices here. The value king, unquestionably, is the Rosefinch, if you are willing to do that little mod. However, if you then put on top of the Rosefinch a decent cable to match the Clear, it brings the price up to this. So, you know, so if I consider cable quality, decent enough accessories, carrying case, and then an IEM that is well built and sounds good, the Clear for me is the winner. Okay, the second place, when considering all of those things, I would probably give it to the SR1, because it does bring a decent cable. Okay, which is not what happens with the Rosefinch. The Rosefinch, it's as basic as it can be. Okay, it's as basic as can be. The most well built IEM here, I would give it to the Legato. It's the one that's also metal shell. However, having said that, the build quality of the Clear is no slouch. It's well put together. It looks the part, looks very smart. If you were to tell me this is an IEM that looked like this and this was like $150, $160, it wouldn't offend me. Honestly, it wouldn't offend me. All right, and that's it, guys. I mean, there's not really much more I can say. I'll show you the graphs now, and we'll wrap it up. All right, you take care. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the JUZEAR Clear. Let me just take out some of these graphs here so we can see things a little bit clearer. Okay, that's the graph of the Clear. Straight away, when you look at it, you think to yourself, okay, this is a different one. We're talking about 60 to 75, so 15 dBs of gain in the bass, 14 dBs of gain for you know, let's say the 5K peak in terms of the treble. If I consider the midpoint of the upper mids around 3K, and I consider the midpoint of the bass around 60 Hertz, we're talking about a gain which starts at 60 to the bass. We have a gain of about 14 dBs one way, and we have a gain of about 9 dBs the other way. So definitely an emphasis on the bass. That's unquestionable. I mean, you just have to look at this and you can see straight away that it is. However, having said all of this, yes, there is some bleed into the mids. Yes, there is. That's no doubt there. But because the bass quality is good, it sounds way more decent than what this graph would make you believe. And one just has to, for example, put and I'm going to put here now straight away the legato, okay, to understand what I'm saying. The legato is got basically the same bass as you can see graphically, but because then it's the upper mids and treble that have been executed in a different manner, it just doesn't sound as open, period. The bass is basically there, although the clear does slam harder. But what I'm trying to say by this is the legato was tuned in a similar way, and that didn't detract from us saying that it was a good quality bass, that it was actually well done, and it was for an IEM that is as bassy as it is, and that the last intention was for it to be a technically capable IEM. No, it was tuned to be fun. The legato is fun, okay? Again, I repeat what I said earlier. It could have had just a little bit better, mids, upper mids, and treble. It could have been a little bit better executed. It could have been perhaps executed along the lines of, let's say, the original JUZEAR 0, and that would have changed completely the dynamics of the legato. It would have still maintained a bass monster and every bit as fun, but with just that added cleanliness. Okay, so compared to the legato, as you can see, bass is basically the same in terms of the graph. Although when you hear it, you will see a slight edging out of the clear over the legato. It just edges it out because the quality of the driver is better. And then in terms of the mids and upper mids and treble, there's the clear is just better. There's more air, more extension up top, more treble. It's just better. End of story. It's as simple as that. There's more energy there. Okay. Compared to the rose finch, and I'm going to show you both rose finches. I'm going to show you. Let me just take away quickly the clear. I'm going to show you the rose finch in its stock format, okay, which is this, and then I'm going to show you the modified one, which is this. Okay, now stock, we're talking so 60 to 70, 16 dBs of bass, okay, with a gain in the mids of around 9 dBs. Now it's precisely this difference, this monumentally big difference, because when you put on the clear, and I'm just gonna momentarily change the color of the rose finch into black so you guys can see better. The bass is basically the same, 15-16 dBs of bass boost, okay, but the fact that the clear has got way more information in the treble and past 10K, it just makes it sound completely different. It sounds open by comparison and not closed and overly dark, as the rose finch sounds in stock format. However, you modify the rose finch, change the filter, and this is what you end up with. Basically the same thing stays in the bass, no difference. But although you might think, oh, but there hasn't been really much of a change, trust me, these minor changes here give an overall more balanced execution of the upper mids in the treble, and it sounds completely different. Doesn't sound as good as the clear still beats it, but unquestionably better. And as I said as well when I reviewed the legato, when I compared it to the legato, I think the graph speaks by itself. Okay, so clear compared to the modified rose finch, there. Compared finally with the SR1. Again, SR1 clear, basically the same sort of bass, the way it's done and everything. It's just then that although, and this is what saves it a little bit, although we have this earlier pinna gain and a peak which is around 2.5, that gives it a little bit energy there in the female vocals and ultimately as well a little bit to the male vocals, but it gives it a little bit of energy to the female vocals to kind of save it. It just has then this roll off which is way too early, so you don't really have much treble. It's a very subdued, very relaxed treble. I mean, it's a bit, if they had just given it a little bit more energy here again, it could have been kind of more harmonish, I agree, but it would have been nice. And I'm kind of hoping that Sound Rhyme will come up with an improvement over this. So there you have it, guys. I mean, it's the JUZEAR Clear, in my opinion, is an IEM for those wanting a fun IEM that does bass well, and that's what it does bass well, but doesn't completely forget that there is mids and treble that also need to be there, if nothing else, in the right amount to just make that bass be able to shine and come through the proper way. And that's what they've done. They've been able to tune the mids and the treble in a proper way, in a sufficient way, in a capable way to, you know, keep up with the bass and give it its and let it shine. Basically, let the bass shine as well. Because if you didn't have this clarity, this bass wouldn't be as clean and as impactful as it is. The fact that you have this kind of execution of the upper mids and treble, that little extra energy there that you have, is what makes it sound as well as clean and as dynamic as it is. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions you might have, please feel free to ask. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one. You take care now. All right, bye bye.